All right, just finished up watching Sweet Dreams, and it's about time I finally see this movie. This film has been a long time in the coming. I've been wanting to see this movie ever since I was a little kid because I remember my mother telling me all about this movie when I was young. She was, I remember her telling me about how upset she was watching this movie because she knew the story in the life of Patsy Cline, and she knew where the story was going to go, like the ending of the story, the ending of her life. She knew what was going to happen. And I remember her telling me that as she's watching the story, it's getting towards the end, and she's starting to get really tense and you know, scared, and she knows what's going to happen. And Patsy Cline gets on the plane, and oh no, we know what's happening. And sure enough, you know, if you know the story, you know what happens. So I remember her telling me about this, and then years later, I got really into Patsy Cline music, and I remember, you know, this story my mom told me about this movie, and I'm really into the music, and I was like, I gotta see this movie. But I never come across this. For whatever reason, I could never find this at a flea market, at a yard sale, at a pawn shop, at, you know, a thrift or like a used movie store, anywhere. This movie was just non-existent anywhere I looked for it. And then I finally came across a copy, and of course, I jumped on it right away, and I had to watch it right away. And it was fantastic. This is all about kind of the time period in Patsy Cline's life where she got famous, from her rise in stardom to her unfortunate, very untimely death. She was only really in the music industry, well, big in the music industry, what, for less than 10 years? 1956 to 1963, that was it. That was the only, like, time period where she actually got kind of big, and even throughout that time period, she wasn't recording the whole time and whatnot, and a lot of crazy stuff happened to her, of course, in the true tradition of, you know, female country singers. Her marriage, not so much. She was apparently married to this, like, kind of nice guy, but that was the problem. He was, like, a little too nice, and she was just like, I can't be with this guy. He's like too just calm and relaxed and just too nice. You know, can we have a fight every now and then or something? And then she meets her new love interest and her new husband. You know, he's a bit abusive and not the nicest guy in the world, unfortunately. Like, you can kind of tell he sort of wants to be nice, but he's got a bit of a temper, and he lets it get the best of him. So he doesn't seem like a complete jerk all the time. Like, you know, he's like, you know, he loves her and, you know, wants to kind of be a nice guy, it seems, but he's just not the best guy. He makes bad decisions and has a bad temper and maybe likes the ladies a little bit too much. But still, so very interesting to see this portion of her life and to learn about this portion of her life and to see that, you know, she wasn't like this. She was a huge star, but she wasn't constantly recording and on the road all the time. She, you know, was having kids and you know, this abusive relationship, and she got into this horrible car accident at one point. You know, all this crazy stuff happened to her. So it's amazing to find out that somebody who, you know, is so famous within the country music industry was not even around in the country music industry for all that long of a time period. And even when she was in it, she wasn't, you know, constantly touring and constantly recording, only some of that time. So very interesting story, and I loved it. I thought it was great. Of course, they do leave out quite a bit. I don't know. I'm not some like Patsy Cline aficionado. I don't know everything there is to know about Patsy Cline, but what I do know about her life, I do know that, you know, that time period of her life, there were definitely some things left out, some stuff they could have talked about, but you know, it's like an hour-and-a-half long movie. They're not going to talk about every little thing. They're going to kind of just put the biggest stuff in. But again, very interesting, very well done. I'm so glad I finally checked this movie out of all these years. This movie's from like, what, 1985 or something like that, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So this movie came out like only a couple years after I was born. So I was probably, I don't know, I must have been really young when my mother told me about this movie, and her telling me about it just had such a effect on me and made me really want to see this movie, and it's just something that stuck with me all those years, about her telling me about how much this movie upset her, and I just remember that, and then again, getting really into her music and putting those two together, I knew I had to one day sit down and finally watch this movie, and I finally did, and I cannot recommend it enough. It's great. A fantastic HBO movie, which, I mean, pretty much when you see the HBO stamp on something, you know it's going to be pretty good. I'm very rarely ever disappointed when it comes to HBO, whether it's a, you know, more of a docudrama or a comedy or, you know, like a you know, a TNA movie or something you'd see late at night on HBO. Whatever it might be, they're always like really fun, you know, they're always really good movies. So this is really well done. Again, I highly recommend it if you're a fan of Patsy Cline in any way whatsoever, or you just you know, want to see a good movie, or you just like country music. Definitely something to see. You'll certainly learn some things, and you'll see a very interesting movie. Ed Harris was also fantastic, and of course Jessica Lange as Patsy Cline. They were all great. Everybody in this movie was fantastic. I love the relationship between her and her mother. That was good as well. I was not aware of the relationship they had. They were more like best friends. That was really cool. I don't know how true to life that was. That was something I was not aware of, but that was really interesting to see. Hopefully that was true to life. That'd be really cool to be like that good of friends with like your mother. That was pretty awesome. So again, Sweet Dreams, check it out. Fantastic movie. I am so happy I finally saw this, and I will definitely be seeing it again.